Welcome to Recovery Rockstars Uncut, uniting the recovery community with raw and real stories. Your host, Kevin Z, puts the light on people and brands that are rocking the recovery lifestyle. So you want to be a rock superstar? RecoveryRockstars.com. Now, here's Kevin.
What's up, and welcome to Recovery Rockstars Uncut. I'm your host, Kevin Z, and today we got a special show for you guys. Coming all the way from Springfield, Illinois, we've got Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing good.
What's cracking in Springfield today?
Well, it's actually pretty good. We have a conference going on for young people in AA. About 900,000 people will be there, speakers and like a DJ and a dance going on. And so it was pretty good. People from all across the country come.
Nice.
A lot of people in the left.
Very, very cool, man. So I got to ask you, how's the weather out there right now?
Cold, about 32 and rainy.
I hate to be that guy, but I got to let you know it's like 75 and sunny out here. You got to move out this way, bro. You got to move out to California.
I've been out there a few times. It's nice.
Well, whenever you come back, you hit us up, all right?
I will.
So let's get into it because you got an incredible story, and I'm so honored to have you on this show. I was reading about your background. You really got introduced to drugs starting at the age of 12 with smoking marijuana.
Yes.
So that was your introduction. And what is that? That's 6th grade, 7th grade?
Going into 7th, it was by people that I live with, and we played basketball and stuff. And then when we were done, their parents would be smoking and drinking, and then I just thought it looked something cool. I was attracted to that lifestyle very young, and people selling drugs and smoking, so I just started hanging out with them.
So this is in Springfield, right? This is where you grew up?
Springfield, yep. So it's in between St. Louis and Chicago, so there's a hub of drugs. I mean, that's what people do. There's a lot of drinking, a lot of bars, a lot of people having parties, and that's what they do.
So you're saying you would hang out and play basketball, and the parents were smoking and drinking, and you would just join them?
I started joining them and the kids that were there, and some people's families, it's a part of their lifestyle. So I was attracted to that, and my friends and I started smoking, and then on the weekends, and then through 6th, 7th, 8th grade, it was more on the weekends, and then when I went freshman year, I was just smoking every day and started drinking every day.
Now, I hope it's okay asking this. Were your parents a part of the parents who were smoking and drinking with you? Not at all.
So they didn't understand what was going on. They thought I had ADHD, I had school problems and trouble concentrating, but they were kind of naive. I don't think they wanted to accept it. There's a lot of denial. I was able to lie for a while, telling them I was tired when my eyes looked red and bloodshot. I lied for a long time, and finally they started coming out and they tried to get me help, but I didn't want any help at that time.
Were you pretty close with your parents growing up? Very close
with my whole family, my grandparents. Nobody drank or smoked or did anything. Very hardworking family, but I was attracted to that other part, that other lifestyle. I thought my parents were kind of boring and nerds for nothing.
Yeah, it's sad that we think that way about our parents when they're not. What about siblings? Did you have brothers, sisters?
I have a sister, and I have 2 adopted brother and sister, which I'll get into later. They're kind of part of my story later down the road. But my biological sister was affected by this. Then she was the one who kind of caught on with it first because I was very close with her, and then I just kind of dropped her. Because there's no room for siblings when you're smoking and drinking if they're not doing it with you.
Yeah.
So I just quit hanging out with her. She's 5 years younger than me.
5 years younger?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. That sucks. So you're going through this, and she knew what you were doing? Was she ever questioning you or trying to get you help or smack you around?
Later down the road she did, but in the beginning she just knew something was off.
Yeah.
Because I'd get really irritable. I mean, I didn't know at the time, but when you don't have it, I'd be in withdrawal, and I would just be mean to her, mean to my family, cussing, yelling. I just didn't want to be around any of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to go down the street to where these people were at.
Yeah. So all your buddies, I mean, I'm assuming all your buddies were smoking, drinking. You guys just rolled with the crew, and that's what you guys did.
There's a few of us. I went to a Catholic high school, so some people, did it a little bit on the weekends, but then there's a few of us who did it every day and got in trouble.
Yeah. So were you, I know you said you had some challenges with school. Were you still attending school every day, or were you skipping school, or
I would go for majority of the time because it was fun. I'd get high before, get
yeah?
high after everybody. But I didn't do any schoolwork. I get detentions every day, and eventually I got expelled. My junior year, I got arrested at school because I robbed a local candy store in town,
Oh
and they
wow.
arrested me at school. So they expelled me, and I went to a public school, which brought me closer to these other people that I would hang out with after school. So it actually increased my drug usage, and my life changed dramatically junior year. My everything changed.
Yeah, so you went from smoking weed, and I know that you had sent me a bio. So starting your junior year, you actually started getting into the cocaine, the ecstasy, the meth, and heroin.
Yeah, I started doing some first, and then mushrooms, psychedelic drugs, and then ecstasy, and then really there was a period of meth, but the coke and the heroin is what I loved, and then the heroin was my turn to be my drug of choice. When I did that drug, for me, it was like I thought I found heaven.
Oh my
All the
gosh.
nerves and all the weird feelings I had in my life stopped, and I could feel better and breathe and just feel normal in a sense. So I crave that drug. It was a different kind of drug for me because I wanted it all the time.
Now, how often were you doing it?
That as much as I could get it about every other day, and I didn't know about it when we first started it, like a lot of people, until some of these older drug dealers and guys using it were like, "You're going to get very sick soon, so you have to do it daily." So I started doing it every day because if you're not, you go through withdrawal. So I dropped out of school my senior year and just was selling drugs and doing drugs all day.
Oh my gosh. So were you living under your parents' roof? I mean, they obviously,
At
when
the
you're doing heroin, they know you're doing something.
Yeah, I was kicked out at that point, which was fine because I had people I could hang out with, and at that time I wasn't doing too much enough to where I could still sell. I had my own apartment. I had two cars. I thought I had found the answer to life. I could buy whatever I wanted when I went to the mall. I had a pocket full of money, and I was just snorting heroin, probably about a couple $100 a day worth, and I was still able to sell some. And then eventually, that into my senior year, would have been my senior year, I saw another person I was selling to shooting it up, and he just seemed higher. He looked better. So I asked him to shoot me up intravenously in my vein, and so I did.
And
And
then,
then there's selling drugs after that. I was strictly a drug user.
yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. So, I mean, when you're doing this every single day, take me through your mindset. I understand what you're saying. You would inject the heroin and you would feel the highest of highs, but take me through the lows. What does that look like?
Well, you get up about 7, 8 a.m. because you're sick. I had a really hard time with depression because my family, it was a really good family. This is a dad who would go to every ball game. Here's a dad who loved me to death. My mom worked hard. My grandparents. Um, so I would like struggle with depression. So like any addict, to relieve the stress or that feeling, I just did more of the drug that was causing the depression.
Yeah,
And I didn't understand addiction because it wasn't around. I had never heard about recovery. I didn't know anything about being addicted to drugs. I just was like, couldn't be the drugs. Something was wrong with me. I was, my depression was bad. I kept saying I have anxiety. Really, I was just a full blown drug addict and I couldn't handle the guilt and shame. It was eating me up alive.
so when it
Uh,
was eating
I,
you up, did you ever ask for help when you were doing it, or what? When
I
was the
would go,
moment?
it's where I would reach out. Like I have a girlfriend here and there. When I get high or be drunk a lot, I'd talk about killing myself. I'd take a gun and pretend I'm going to shoot myself to scare them who are with me. I'd tell a couple of my buddies that I was really struggling, and they were trying to tell me I need to slow down. My life's out of control. But I just couldn't imagine living without the substance. But deep down, I knew that I'm a real drug addict, and this is not going to end well. And I started getting in trouble with the law. I was on probation, so it wasn't going well. But deep down inside, I just wasn't ready to stop using because when you use, it tricks the mind and tells you everything will be okay. Deal with it tomorrow. and then tomorrow turns in 6 months later, a year later. But inside, I was, shame and guilt for me was my drive of usage. I just did not want to sit with myself.
So from your parents' perspective, when they were going through this, I mean, were they reaching out to you consistently? I know you got kicked out of the house, but were they still reaching out? They were trying to help. You
Yes.
have these feelings of guilt and shame, but still, I mean, that's the
hmm
only thing that you could focus on is doing the heroin. Did they reach out? Did they try to help you? Did they take you anywhere?
They would. They would take me to some counselors. They would take me to. I went to a couple of treatment centers, but I just wasn't ready to get up and leave and cuss them out or cuss the counselors out. I couldn't let them talk more than 10 minutes. I'd start crying and freak out and run out of the house. And then at one point, and I don't mind sharing because part of my story, I would keep some stuff there, like some drugs or money in case an accident happened or I went to jail, and my dad found it and it scared him. And I pulled a gun on my dad because he flushed the stuff away and I lost it. And he just looked at me and he said, I can't be around you anymore. So they went and got an order of protection against me. And I didn't have any contact with them for about 6 months to 8 months with nothing. But I had a very codependent Italian family, so I went and started staying at my grandma and my aunts. And at that point, that's when I said, earlier that I have an adopted brother and sister. They, to like not replace me, because I've talked to them about it since then. I asked them, what made you want to adopt somebody? But they needed to do something to keep their mind off me. So they adopted a little girl and a little boy to help realize, because they thought I was going to die.
Yeah. So that was their sole reason for adopting?
Yeah. They wanted to help something. They just couldn't sit with and worry about me every day. My dad retired a little early from the city, and my mom couldn't work at the time. Going through all this with my with her son, me, she had a nervous breakdown and never went back to work.
Oh, wow.
So we adopted 2 children and helped them, and they're still adopted, and we're close today.
I was just going to ask you, you were pretty close with them?
Yep.
Good.
Very close with them.
And what's the age difference there?
My little brother is 10 and the adopted is 16.
That's great.
So we're all close. So
now going back, you said you'd moved in with your grandma and the aunt. So when you moved in with them, I mean, you were still full blown using every day, or?
Yes, using every day, and this increased my usage. And in some families, there's either they're gonna love you to death and try to help you out of your addiction, or they're gonna like push you away and shun you. My aunt loved me to death. So this is a true story. I would pick her up, every week, take her to work. I'd have her car. She'd take me to the ATM and give me a few $100s. I'd get high all day, pick her up from work. She'd give me more money from the ATM, and then I'd take her home. Then I'd come home and repeat the cycle for about 6 months. This happened. My habit got up to about $800. And I asked her now, later in recovery, when she came to family group, the counselor said, why would you do that? And in her mind, she knew I was so crazy that I'd rob a bank or do something scary. She just thought that she would rather give me this money from her life insurance and savings than me end up to rob somebody, shoot somebody, or do something very stupid and end up in prison a long time.
Wow.
So yeah, it fueled me. It also kind of accelerated my usage to where I got to the point where I was with, getting in recovery at an early age. Because I had the means to use so much. She never said no to me. I could beg and cry, and eventually she'd give in and give me any amount of money I was asking for.
Wow. And your aunt?
Oh.
Yeah. And your aunt's still around today?
Yes. We're all
and
close.
You guys are
just earlier today, she's still in my life. I pay her back money every day, or do something for her about every day I visit her, and about once or twice a month, I pay, give her some money and pay back on what she gave me.
Wow, that is incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So on your bio it says you were arrested multiple times, but actually went to prison in 2005. You were there
Correct.
for 7 months. How did you end up in prison?
One sec. we got a revoked probation charge and a possession of controlled substance and manufacturing delivery. Like I said, my